I've already proven everybody wrong. And turns out it wasn't even about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself wrong. So
Oof.
yeah,
Yeah.
get it.
That's the line, bro.
That's the line.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Technician Podcast. It is 2025, and I get to start the year with my boy, Aiden Hiko. How are you, brother?
Very good, bro. I'm just laughing in my head. It's very funny hearing it, but seeing it at the same time, because obviously I've listened to the podcast many times, but here it's in front of me. This is cool.
I actually just remembered that you and Mina were like, found me through the podcast, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So Amina, I think she reached out to a friend and was like, look, I'm looking for a podcast. She was just trying to get herself right. And then she stumbled upon your podcast and I think followed you on Instagram and was like, hey, Aiden, I think this would really benefit you. He's got really good energy, matches exactly what you're about. Like jump on. And then, yeah, fell in love.
And it was such a cool journey, man, to see, obviously myself and Lockie. Shout out to Lockie Mitchell, guys.
Lockie.
One of the greatest coaches alive. And he was like, what, 21, 22 at the time?
Yeah, he was a baby. I mean, he still is a baby, but no, he was definitely young but it like so powerful. And it was really cool to see that much energy and passion in one person. So
yeah, bro. And I can say the same thing about you. First of all, I want to just say, I'm really proud of you, bro. Like, I don't know if you get that enough or if you have actually gotten that, because I love to celebrate the brothers. I find it's quite hard to have that genuine, like, bro, I love seeing you win. Like, I don't have many men like that in my life, and it's really beautiful to be able to say that to yourself and really, really mean it, because, I've been championing you since day one, bro. Like, I'm just like, fuck, this is sick, seeing the boys win. So congrats on, all your success and what you're going to create. But I just want to say I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And likewise, very proud of you and seeing where you've gone from, like we were just talking about, going from the podcast to, the coaching and then now back to the podcast. So it's really cool to see that. And yeah, the growth the last, 24 months for us has been incredible. So likewise, equally proud of you, brother. So congratulations.
So guys, today, you really need to listen to all of this because you are going to learn some crazy shit, especially about the behind the scenes with marketing, social media, content, gatekeeping, money, everything you could ever imagine that you are going to learn from this man and what he's done in the last, 24 months, essentially. That's what it's been, right? Like 2 years?
Yeah, for Hyper, it's been 2 years. And then obviously we had Chiefs Esports Club prior to that, which was probably 5-6 years. And then I also had a skateboard company when I was younger. So yeah, we the last 2 years have been insane, but really the whole thing is just a melting pot. So,
Look, there's going to be a bit of back and forth today because obviously there's so many questions I've got prepared, but I also have so many that are just flowing through right now, especially based off the conversation we just had. And I think the best place to start, knowing who's listening, why do you do what you do? Because we just had that question before where it's like, we want to know, what is it that drives motherfuckers like us that, why do I do coaching? Why do you do what you do? What all started it?
That's a super interesting question. And I think it's something that I struggle with a lot because I don't know. I really don't know. There's so many things that drive me. Originally, like there's been moments in my career where I've been driven by, spite and just wanting to prove someone wrong. There's been moments where I've been driven by pure passion and just wanting to, just show people what's possible. And I'd say I probably go more for option 2 these days than when I was younger. I definitely wanted to prove everybody wrong. Especially growing up in Western Sydney it was very interesting. People just saw me as, well, the two sides of it. People saw me as a islander. So I got to go play footy. I'm not smart enough to work in an office. So I'll probably be a scaffolder or, a chippy or something like that. So I got hard put into that corner, which isn't me at all. And so then when I started breaking away from that corner and into, I got a job at the Commonwealth Bank, and I had my own skateboarding business with a couple of friends. Everyone that was in that corner was just kind of like, oh, you'll never do that. Like you'll be back, that kind of thing. So I was very driven early in my career by spite. Whereas these days it's like, I've already proven everybody wrong. And turns out it wasn't even about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself wrong. So
get it. That's the line, bro.
That's the line. So yeah, getting to that point was interesting. But why do we do what we do now? There was a few problems that we had. We realized that we were very good at what we were doing in terms of marketing, social media and things like that. And we recognized a few problems in the industry. namely contracts. Contracts with talent were very, not perverse, but forget the word, but very controlling. And we didn't like that. And so we helped a couple of friends get out of contracts. And then we realized that, hey, we could probably just do a better job for our friends managing them as talent, which then turned into, hey, we can actually just do a really good job for these brands to help them grow. So yeah, that's kind of how we got to this point, and it's been an incredible journey for the last 2 years.
Dude, there's a few golden nuggets in there that we can expand on, especially around using spite as an energy to get to where you want to be, and then shifting that energy to more of a, all right, okay, I've had enough of that. Because did you find that using that energy to get to where you wanted to be, it was quite painful?
Yeah, it was painful because like some of those guys are still my friends, right? And they're still my friends that I want to see win, but I'm also like returning that energy where it's like, but I don't want you to win too much. So it's very limited in how far you can grow with that energy. So I found that very early on that I could only push so far and still be friends with them. If I was going to try and push further with that same energy, then I'd have to stop being friends with them. And I valued that friendship so much more than, an off the cuff line saying, you'll never do that. And so that's when I started to make that shift into going, okay, well, why am I doing this? What do I want to achieve? Who do I want to be? What legacy do I want to leave? And so it was in that sort of, I guess, self-discovery bit that I started finding different energy and different reasons to, pursue, I guess, a different goal.
Yeah, I love that. Even on the topic there, bro, which can be a really powerful topic. So your background, just for the listeners, Māori, yes?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so for any, like, let's really show, like, you're breaking the mold for the islanders, where it's like the Samoan, Tongan, Pacific Islanders in general. Any suggestions you can give for anyone listening right now that might be in that same boat, where they're like, how the fuck do you keep going? Or how do you even start to go down that path, knowing that you are made for more, but everyone's questioning you?
Ooh, that's a very good question. How do you start down that path? For me, I was almost forced into it. So my mother's side is Pakeha, and then my dad's side's Māori. And my family's two sides never really got along. This is the first time I'm saying this publicly, so it's going to be interesting if I get any hit back on this. But they never really got along, and it wasn't for any other reason than, that was just a culture in New Zealand. Mum's family is white, dad's family is Māori. It's just, it just wasn't going to work. So for whatever reason, my dad decided it'd be way easier to just come live in Australia. Then we came to Australia, my parents came to Australia, and then they had me and my sister. And so my sister is completely white. And so growing up, we got very separated. So my sister would always be with my mum's family. I'd always be with my dad's family and stuff like that. And we were treated very differently. And a lot of it was subconsciously, but it would just be like little off the cuff remarks and things like that kind of caused that separation. There's no animosity from my side at all. Like, I love both sides of my family. I've spent a lot of time with them, especially the last few years, since my grandparents passed away and things like that. But that kind of separation that started with the family continued into our whole lives. So my sister used to get picked on at school by the Islander girls because they'd be like, "You're not from New Zealand." But then they'd realize that she's my sister, and then it was all cool again. And on the flip side of that, I'd get picked on by the Aussie guys at school because I was just a stupid coconut. But then I'd go and hang out with the Islanders, and I wasn't enough for the Islanders because I was a Mozzie, like a Māori boy in Aussie, right? So I wasn't Māori enough, which is another stupid concept. Like, if you fuck up, you're Māori. That's all there is to it, right? And so I wrestled a lot with that identity growing up. And one of the ways that I kind of got through that was diving into my whakapapa and really uncovering that. So a lot of that was missing for my family, the whole story. So we kind of had a gap after my granddad, because my granddad was told to go and live like the white man. That's what he was told by his father, right? My great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was full-blooded Ngāpuhi, and that was all we could get back to. So coming out of that and, learning to discover and trace back my family history was a massive, massive step for me identifying who I am. And then I realized at that point, once I started putting together those pieces, that I wasn't getting separated from the Islanders or the white guys because of, any animosity or anything like that. It's just that was what was taught to us, was that, you know, you're only 10% Māori, or you're this percent Aboriginal, or this percent whatever. And so that means you need to go fit this different ecosystem. And so I set out seeing all my friends who were also going through similar identity issues, where they're, you know, stuck, I call it the bubble. They're stuck in this bubble and they just keep repeating the same things that their parents did. And then they're going to have children and they're going to teach their children the same stories and, you know, life lessons that they learned, but they haven't learned anything new because they're still in the same suburb or they're still in the same city. And so I decided very young, I went to a friend's funeral, and I was quite young, but they said, how great is this? He lived in Greystanes. He was born in Greystanes. He lived in Greystanes and he died in Greystanes. What a fantastic life. And I would have been 13 and I sat there and went, that is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And it just terrified me. And so from that point on, I decided to set out and be like, okay, I've been blessed to have both sides of like the family. I've got the Māori side and the white side. What can I take from this side that looks differently at this side? And how can I bring the lessons from both together? And so I started diving into that personally and working with my friends and trying to just build myself up. And then I just realized it was a lot easier for me to go up first and throw a rope down than it is to try and lift 6 boys up at the same time. So we started, I just kind of took the lead from that and just started, I guess, working on my self-development. We've got a lot of good, very good people that we can look after. Sonny Bill comes to mind.
Quade Cooper's been doing some cool shit.
Quade's
right?
incredible.
Isaac Johns, shout out to Ice.
Shout out to Ice. Yeah, definitely. I had lunch with him the other week. It was actually the first time I met him in person.
Yeah, right.
Really good energy. I was fortunate enough to train with Eddie Asatasi and Roy Asatasi.
Roy's like one of my GOAT players.
Right, yeah. So I walked into an F45 one day. Eddie's at the door and I was like, that guy looks familiar. And then Roy walks around the corner and I'm like, I can't train like an idiot now. Like I gotta lock in here. You know?
Shit. It's one of the OG Bulldogs.
Yeah. So yeah, they inspired me a lot. Eddie in particular, you know, gave me a lot of opportunities with F45 to kind of grow and stuff like that. And I don't think I've ever said this to him, but I was very appreciative of that because that was kind of me. The first time I was ever really accepted by another Polynesian culture that didn't know me, didn't have any, you know, pre-existing connotations of who I was as a person or my family or anything like that. So that was a cool, like almost like a coming of age moment.
How do you find those people?
Which people?
So anyone that's going to lift you up, bro, because I think what happens is we can, like, that was so well said, what you just said. So I hope anyone listening, like, you take a lot from that and know that it, like, deep down, finding yourself, you know, whether it be, like, for me, like, I'm part Filipino, Scottish, Māori, like Pakeha, and so down my grandparents' lines, but it's all there. But I never knew that as a kid. So again, I didn't feel like I fit in either, bro. I looked super Asian growing up. So I actually copped quite a bit of racism being in a little country town.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it that way. I didn't understand that stuff, right? But then how did you, like, you can want better for yourself, but how do you surround yourself with people that want better for you?
That's a good question too. Damn, you're really good at this, eh? Yeah, it is an interesting thing. I think I'm a big believer in energy, and I think like attracts like a lot. Particularly when we have, you know, if you're pushing to be something better and you're trying to find something better, then if you're out and open to those opportunities, I think you'll find it. I think there's a line that people always say that's like, when you're not looking for it, that's when you'll find it. I think that's ridiculous. Like, I don't believe in that at all. No. But I think when you're doing the things that are championing you and your personal legend and your personal goal, that's when you find them. And it's not because you weren't looking, it's because you were looking at yourself. And I think when you can flip that on yourself and start to go, okay, this is where I want to be, these are the decisions I'm going to make. Once you start making those decisions, the whole world collectively makes those decisions for you as well. I'm a big believer in the elements of, I guess, laws of attraction and things like that bring that together, because there's so many things where, like, meeting those guys, I absolutely had to meet them to take that next step in my life. Meeting guys like Nick and Joshua I work with now, absolutely had to meet them to take this step in my life as well. So I think, yeah, if you're truly kind of starting to understand, I don't think anyone ever perfectly understands who they are, but if you're truly trying to understand who you are and have an idea of where you want to go and who you want to be, then the whole universe will work towards that for you.
Well said, bro. I think the perfect segue in helping people understand how that might look. I think you're the king of side quests. I'm going to start calling you fucking CJ from San Andreas. So it's like, if you're looking at the GTA map, you are not going to know where to go unless people are also giving you missions to do, right? So you're discovering your own San Andreas at the moment, and you're finding some cool shit, making some cool money, meeting some cool people, hopefully not killing people. But understanding for people, like for me, I've said to a few clients, a visualization process or even a really practical, simple thing is get the shit on paper. Like for me, my whole life, bro, I said this to someone the other day, and it was a pretty woo-woo thing to say, but I am pretty woo-woo. So I was like, cool, take this if you will. And I just said, look, how the fuck do you expect the universe to give you what you want if it can't see what you want? It can't see inside your head. I mean, energetics is real, intention's real, all those sort of things for me. But unless you've got a roadmap, a blueprint that's sitting on your wall somewhere that you see every day and he gets to see every day, or it, whatever you want to call it, how are you meant to have the blueprint come together? Because I find as soon as I have these big bits of like butcher's paper on the wall in my office that I see every day, he's looking at it too. He's like, oh shit, you want to meet a top sports agent to get you to work with one of the NRL players as a client. Sick. Well, meet this dude. All of a sudden, the things that unfold for me to meet that person just start to happen, right? And I can't sit here and logically explain that shit, but I don't think I need to. Can you see electricity? No. No. Does it work? Yeah. So why does something have to actually physically exist before you start to believe it? But also flip that. How about you start believing yourself enough to start creating something physical so that it starts to be believed by yourself, the universe, everyone else around you? And, you know, to segue into how you would have done it, did you do that sort of stuff, bro, real young? Like start reading books and like looking at YouTube, all that sort of stuff. How did you start to really see where to go and how to bring in these people you might have needed?
I think I did start pretty early with YouTube and stuff like that. I was never like, obviously I've worked in esports and gaming, but I was never a gaming kid. So I was always outside and visualizing things. And I think my parents played a really good role in helping me dream. Obviously them coming over to Australia was a big dream for them. And my dad was like, oh, imagine you playing this, or imagine you doing that. And mum was like, you know, always encouraging my sister to do dancing. And both of them were always just pushing us to chase things. My mum in particular really supported me with my skateboarding and stuff like that. She would take me to Melbourne. We'd go to, you know, Globe World Cup. Like both my parents took me down to Globe World Cup. And that was like a really cool, special moment for me. So to see them pushing so hard for me was definitely an inspiration. When I had to take it on for myself, I'm not too sure where or how that started, but I was always a very, very, very vivid dreamer. And this is before anything happened where it was like, oh yeah, do you know about lucid dreaming and out of body? Like no one was talking about this. Like this, we're talking like 25, 30 years ago when I was just a kid. And so like I remember one of these dreams I had when I was a kid, and there's like this bald dude who used to chase me around all the time in my dreams.
Terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. But then one day I made a wagon appear in my dream, and I jumped in the wagon and I got away from the bald dude. And then I was like, hang on a second, can I control my dreams? Like, what's going on here? So then I was like, bro, I'd go to sleep, like reading. I used to play this tape on repeat. This is how I kind of taught it to myself, of The Lion King. So it's just a story of The Lion King. And I'm like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, just playing Lion King on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And then eventually it got to the point where I would just be a character in The Lion King. But then I could go and I'd be running around Africa or, you know, whatever, having adventures as like a lion. And then Harry Potter came around, you know, it's exact same thing. I was putting myself in Harry Potter. And then one day I had a dream that I could do a kickflip on a skateboard. And I was like, I just can't do that, right? Like I can't, like I was still learning. Anyway, so I'm practicing in my dream. I'm like, all right, keep practicing. So when you wake up, you can remember how to do it. Cause I know I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, bang, bang, bang. Bro, I woke up the next day. I nailed it immediately. And I was just like, there's something here. Like no one's talking about it yet. No one's talking about how to like decide that that's the dream you're going after, or visualize it or see it. But I knew there was something there. And so it all happened very, very organically for me.
Damn. So you literally discovered the power of visualization.
Yeah. I suppose you could say that. Yeah.
You know, lucid dream, like for anyone sort of listening right now, for me, I work a lot with the the subconscious, unconscious mind, and understanding. Yeah, during your sleep, like for me, dude, I'm pretty sure I'm doing work in my sleep, like as in energetic work for clients. I'll never forget when I told Christy, I went to sleep one night and we had a client in our group program at the time who was suffering from like CPSD, like crazy shit from ex-police officer. And he was struggling to sleep. Obviously, he's having some crazy nightmares, seen some crazy shit. Shout out to anyone that is a police officer or anything like that, first responders, man, they see some crazy shit and so much respect for them. Well, the next day, this night, I said to Christy, Christy, last night I was at a house and I swear to God, there was a red portal and old mate was standing next to me. And in that red portal, there was like demons trying to come out. And I was like, get back, you know, it's like getting them into this portal and close that shit up.
Yep.
Now, the reason I know this was legit experience for me is I woke up the next day feeling absolutely pummeled, just like, what the fuck happened? And I felt the feeling of fighting demons and experiencing that, right? We get on the call that night. This same dude goes, yeah, we did a check-in. And he's like, yeah, it's wild. Last night I had the best sleep of my life.
That's crazy.
And I'm sitting there going, yeah, because I'm fighting your demons, bro. I'm putting these demons back in their portal for you. Yeah. So, and I still didn't really understand at that time, but Christy sort of suggested or mentioned that, hey, look, this is kind of why you do what you do and why she does what she does and Lockie does what he does, you know? So it's this understanding of there being something more and something big. So I guess at a young age, you discovered maybe there's more to this physical reality. And then trusting that's probably allowed you to create what you've created. Would you say that's pretty true?
Yeah, I'd say it's 100% accurate. Like understanding that and realizing that at a young age, I started visualizing everything. And we actually have a connection on that exact topic, which I don't know if we've ever talked about specifically. When we did the retreat, we had that the breathwork session. You're completely aware I had a totally different experience to everybody else in the room. Right?
I'll never forget that tear that just slowly went down your face.
So where I was in that place was, it was the first time I'd ever done heavy breath work like that. I was in a golden forest with this golden lake, having just an absolute stunning time of my life, right? It's so euphoric. And like I'm there and then something clicked in there while I'm walking around this golden lake. And I was just like, I could hear echoes of people screaming around me, which is obviously everybody else in the room. And so in that moment, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. But in that moment, I remember like bundling up the energy, because I've done this since I was a kid, where I'd like draw in energy and give it to people that I thought needed it. Kind of like Dragon Ball Z, right? So I've done this for so long. And so in the room, I'm like, because I was so euphoric, I didn't register that it was people in the room that needed my help. I was just helping the universe. So I'm drawing in this energy, throwing these balls around and helping people and everything like that. And then we came out of it and I didn't realize the immense impact it had on everybody around me. Everybody around me is broken, like just, crying, literally bawling their eyes out, releasing so much energy. And I've come up and I'm just like, that was the greatest moment of my life, right?
Everyone else is just rattled around you, hair, all sorts.
It was quite funny. But then one of the women we were with, she said that she was visited by a little red fox that was, came to help her. And then I remember going, did it look a little bit like this? Because I've got the red panther tattooed on me. And then I remember she cried, that I cried a little bit. Like it was just a very like crazy moment. And that's when it kind of confirmed for me that, hey, when you are throwing that energy around and you are doing that, it's absolutely having an impact, whether someone else recognizes or not. Like your friend was like, hey, I just had a great sleep last night, but you know exactly why I had a great sleep. She saw the red fox or red panda. She didn't know why she was seeing it, but it made her feel better. But I knew exactly why she was seeing that panda. So I'm big believer on that energy.
Dude, that retreat was wild.
That was sick.
Lockie just led that whole thing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, bro, I'll support you. Because I'd run some stuff before that, but he was taking us through some crazy processes. And that one where it's like, I don't give a fuck what you think. I'll never forget how much you just stepped into this whole new like warrior version. And then the haka that you performed for one of the ladies there. Yeah. Dude, take us through that moment where it's like, do you remember the feeling and what shifted there?
I remember everything. That was the first time I'd ever done anything like that in front of A, people I didn't know, or B, for someone. So there was a lot of energy that I had to call on. And that was also around the same time that I just started uncovering, you know, my family's whakapapa and things like that, and finding the history. So I felt like it was kind of, again, like another coming of age moment, edge of the pendulum, if you will. And so in that moment, I remember you came up and you're like, before you even got to me, I knew what you were going to ask.
I remember you saying that. He's like, I know, bro. Yeah. Like,
yeah. Because I don't think you even asked. I was like, I'll do it. Like,
yeah. Oh.
And I was just like, I was certain that you were going to ask me to do it. And I felt that she needed it as well. And so when you're like, just when it feels right, just do it. And I remember the guy that stepped out, he was having issues with thinking like, you know, he was the man too much and, you know, going through his own kind of things. And I didn't know that yet, but then I stepped out in front of him and I remember thinking, maybe I should have let him go first, but maybe he had a lesson to learn in that too. So 100%. The timing of everything was just incredible. And then, when I had to drop into that, so there's always, whenever I've meditated and things like that, I've always been kind of guided by this big dude that stands in the corner. I don't know who he is, what his name is or anything like that. But I occasionally will see his face. When I had to step into that moment, I was freaking out. I was so nervous and scared. And I just drew on his energy. And I remember just closing my eyes and seeing his face. It was the clearest I'd ever seen his face. And he just kind of stepped into me and I just became a different person. I'm doing it now, right? Like you can see me, I'm leaning
just
up,
saw
opening
everything
my shoulders.
shift, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as I step into this person, it just becomes a different energy. I'm a different leader. I'm a different guy. And I think after that, we kind of discovered that I can kind of shift between my childlike energy and this behemoth of a dude. The chief, exactly. On call. And that was the most powerful moment I think I could have had for that whole experience. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, because I feel what happens at retreats is something that you can't replicate. So I know that moment came to me and I can't plan that. I think that's why I love what I do so much, because even in the podcast, dude, I've got things coming in knowing I need to ask you 10 minutes down the track.
Yeah.
So we're leading to it. It's almost like, maybe it's my tism, but it's like, I know like Harry Mack, the freestyle is coming, right? And I know that I'm planning to rhyme stick with wick down the track, but I've got to pre-plan to that. So, this is what happens when I'm coaching and stuff. Like I get drop-ins like, dude, go talk to her and tell her that she needs to do this and then bring such and such in and this will happen.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But clearly you've got similar sort of gifts, right? And with that chief moment for you, and we won't go into it too much, but just so people understand how important it is tapping into the part of you you're probably scared of before, which I would say it's a process for me that I take clients through, is mates with your monster. And it's almost like a darkness. Like most people are scared of their darkness. Most people go through life where they're like, not most people, a lot of people where they're like the nice people. And they're the real kind to everyone. Oh, no, it's fine. It's all good. I find that shit fake. I think the people that are, you weren't born that way. You didn't come into the world like, me, mommy. It's fuck, give me some food.
Exactly.
So this expression of ourselves had been suppressed by everyone else's programming, softwares, things that they believed we should be. And, segueing exactly into why you and Amina did this program with your shadows. What was it, dude, that shifted during that time that afterwards turned you into this fucking beast you are now? Because I'd love to talk about the journey for what you're doing now, but we need to hear what happened after all that work, bro, because you just went like skyrocketed. Yeah,
I think just going back to what we were saying before, and Kanye West, I'm going to quote the late American, the great American poet Kanye West. He has a quote where he says, when you're 3 years old, you climb on top of the coffee table and then your parents going to say, hey, get off the coffee table because you shouldn't be standing on the coffee table. Then by the time you're 35, you've got a wall of 300 coffee tables that you're not allowed to step on. So you stay back here. And that really hit for me quite hard when I heard that. But what happened with stepping into, the chief and becoming that person, and this is something I don't think I've ever spoken to you about either, but we actually did it on the trip, right? We did the integration meditation with Shannon, which was bringing those two together. That was a really powerful moment for me. And going back to, growing up and things like that, I think the reason that the chief is my monster is because I was never enough for the Islanders, right? I was Mozzie. I was a fake, one of my best friend, my old best friend, One time we were sitting at a table and it was people that we just met, and they were like, "Oh, are you a Māori?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he cut them off and was like, "No, he's a fake Māori. He's a Aussie Māori." And I was like, he knew very well, what kind of identity crisis I was kind of having and the shift that I needed. And in that moment, like, that was the end of our friendship right there. He said some things after it that also caused, a few other issues, but that was, for the context of this story, that was the end of our friendship there. So then I had to recover from that and find a way to integrate, this beast of a person that everyone thought I was. Everyone already thought I was the Māori chief. But inside, I wasn't ready and I wasn't capable of being that person, because my whole life I'd been given coffee tables as to the reasons why I'm not that person, right? So in that moment and stepping into that haka and stepping into integrating it and, the breath work and everything, that was when I realized I live with my monster. I am my monster. And when I need that chief, I become that chief. Most of the time I like being the fun little playful kid, but when I need that energy, it's there on tap. So that for me and that process was necessary. As soon as that happened, everything shifted, right? There's different energy now. So now I've got unlimited energy. When the kid's too scared to do something, I can call on the chief to go and get that job done. When the chief's too tired, I can relax and be the kid and play games and have a bit more fun. But the whole time I'm tapping into two different levels of energy that allow me to just keep pushing. Sometimes they're both tired, for sure. But I can push a little bit further and I can push higher now because those coffee tables have started coming down.
Clip that. Bro, that's sick. Because like, for anyone listening, and you might not be watching right now, but Ados is like a big dude like myself. What are you, like 6'4" and like 120 kilos plus?
I weigh 149 kilos.
Yeah, about the same as me.
Yeah,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm like 145 or something.
Yeah.
So like, you're a big dude, right? And have you always been a big dude?
Yeah, my whole life, which, I maybe you're going to lead into this, but that was also a problem growing up, is I was the big dude. So I had to be the angry guy on the footy field and, run it straight and do this and do that. And that's just not me. Like, A, it hurts. B, I'm not that angry.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I was the gentle giant as well, but I was forced into the gentleness because, when I really leaned into my monster when I was a younger dude, didn't know how to control it, I hurt kids on the field. Yeah. Because I had a lot of anger. I was a very angry dude. Now, because it was so bad, because I didn't know how to express it off the field. Me growing up, anger was a bad thing. It wasn't allowed to be, you weren't allowed to speak up or express it. It was like very shut down, go to your room kind of vibe. So, which happens for a lot of men. A lot of men then don't know how to fucking deal with when this thing comes up, especially when they're drinking. Yeah. A couple of beers in, it's like, all right, I got to prove my worth. Yeah, Let's go left, right. Oh shit, I'm out. It's like, you got to understand that. Well, you don't gotta do anything. But for anyone listening, you're probably hearing that what helped Aiden create ultimate success, and I'm assuming your guys' relationship became better than ever as well after you did that work, right? So the benefits were just insane. But you stepped into something else that physically you'd always been in your whole life. Everyone already looked at you as the chief, but you didn't believe you were the chief. Now you fucking believe and know deep in your heart and your unconscious mind that you are the fucking chief. So now you can actually utilize the energy because it was always there. Because I find, bro, this work isn't about becoming someone else. It isn't about letting things go. It's literally just becoming the rawest, realest, most authentic version of you, which has always existed. It's being so imperfect that it's perfect. Yeah. Showing up in a way that, I say this to people all the time when I'm doing coaching and stuff. I don't want them to perceive me as some like higher than thou. I'm a coach that thinks this and does this. Yeah. No, I'm still a piece of shit human sometimes that fucks up and makes mistakes and doesn't know how to work with his money and, eats Macca's probably too much sometimes, like I want people to know that that's actually
not sponsored, by the way.
Yeah. But if you want to, shout out. It'd help heaps. But it's just knowing that it's not about trying to become something different. It's not about trying to let go of the bad parts of yourself. It's actually just, if anything, loving yourself more than ever. Hey, like just having more compassion for yourself.
Yeah. Integrating.
Integration, bro. So the integration happened. The chief and the little boy were together. Dude, take us through what happened next. Like, How did that all come about? Knowing you had the Chiefs esports business with Nick and who else? Josh.
Yeah, and Mike.
What fucking exploded there, bro? What was the catalytic moment?
So it was a combination of things. One of the craziest things that was happening at the time was, esports is starting to dwindle a little bit. We had people that we were working with and like a board of directors and things like that we had to answer to, who didn't necessarily align with our vision. We had a bunch of other projects that we also launched. We launched a supplement company at the same time. The budget for the marketing got pulled on that while we had $200,000 worth of product. So there was all these bad things kind of just one after the other, bang, 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 bang. And at the same time, we weren't really looking after our mental health either. So we'd all kind of condensed, I suppose, into this point. And then I think the straw that broke the camel's back per se was Nick resigning. When Nick realized he'd had enough, and he was fighting his own demons that he wasn't even telling us about, we had no idea. When he had enough, everybody was like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So Nick resigned, and then I think Josh resigned, and then the company was getting sold to someone else. And basically one day it was just like, all right, you guys aren't getting paid anymore. And we were like, what are we going to do from here? Like, this is the one of the tightest moments we'll ever have. Obviously back ourselves any day of the week. We've all worked in corporate, and we've all had, well-paying roles, but we didn't want to do that anymore. And for whatever reason, we're like, all right, let's go look for something. Let's find something. We need something will come, right? That's always been our mantra. And for Mike was fortunate enough that he was able to step into a role with his dad's company. His dad's company is incredibly successful. So Mike now heads up the esports side of that. And then for us, it was just, we had one of our friends come to us and was like, hey, ask and you will come, and it will come. Hey, I've got this campaign. I can't do it. My business doesn't do this. Do you guys want it? And we were like, that day we set up Hyper, and we just went bang, set up Hyper. We went, yeah, we can do it. Had no idea how to do it, but just took it on, and it was one contract. And then 3 months later we had 2 contracts. Then a couple of months later we had 4 or 5 contracts. And so in like a 6-month period, because I think we all left Chiefs around kind of August, September. I think Nick was a bit earlier. Between September to December, we went from no business existing to 5-6 contracts and paying double what we were getting paid in the Chiefs.
Now this is where I'm going to start asking some serious questions.
Hit me.
Because with this, people are going to hear this and go, what do you mean you can ask and it just comes?
Yeah.
What do you mean you can start making double what you were making and it's better opportunity came? So that started, right? The contract started rolling in. When you talk contracts, is that like a client that you've signed or something like that?
Yeah,
is it marketing? Yeah. Like what's the actual gig that you were starting to do?
Yeah, so we moved from previously we obviously had the Chiefs, and the Chiefs is basically a marketing company, right? As much as esports team, it's all marketing. So everything relied on the sponsors. And shout out to Nick and Josh and Mike. We were the first Chiefs. We were the first esports team in Australia with $1 million jersey. So all the sponsors added up to $1 million a year, which is incredible and such an insane achievement. And then you think, how did we mess that up? And so you got to think about, there's a lot of other things that we've got to pay for, teams we've got to pay for, directors we've got to pay for, consultants, the mansion we were in, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of things there that kind of caused that crumble to happen. And then when we started getting contracts, and we were sort of fortunate because we were in a position that we had an understanding or a group of people around us that we could go to and say, hey, we need work. For whatever reason, we still haven't done that because we haven't needed to do that. But I think everyone that is in a position like that would sit there and I don't want to sound like some Instagram guru where it's like, oh, buy this course or do this, whatever. I'm going to be open with everything. Everyone sits there and goes, if you honestly sat there and thought, okay, I want to do this, where can I start? If I came to you with some sort of pyramid scheme, like selling Tupperware or whatever, what are you going to do first? You're going to go straight to your friends and family. You're going to organize a Tupperware night. You're going to say, hey, you guys want to buy this stuff? And they are going to buy it because it's Tupperware. For whatever reason, our friends and family don't buy things now because it's like, oh, why doesn't Travis just give me the shirt? That's my best friend. It's like, yeah, that's why you should be paying double.
He can just coach me for free. It's just talking.
It's ridiculous, right? So I don't know why we do that, but it happens a lot here in Australia. And so I think if everyone truly sat there and looked at their friends and family and looked at the business that they interact with, even if it's the coffee shop down the road, you're always in a position to offer a service to someone. You need to find a way to provide value. So we found a way that we could provide value to our friend who had a contract that he couldn't handle, right? So that was our first step. So we looked at that and went, we don't know how to provide value, but we are very desperate right now. So we're going to say yes, and we'll work it out later. Never say no. Always say yes, work it out later. So we said yes, started working it out, and that went well. And then that business had another contract that they needed help with. And so they went, hey, we also have this project. Do you guys want to do it too? You guys are doing a great job here. And so we were like, yeah, absolutely. That's what we'd love to do. And then it came to a point where it was like, okay, this is what we're doing and this is how we do it. Let's just tell a couple of people about it, and let's tell the business again remind them about the services that we can actually offer. And they went, oh, that's great. We don't need it right now for anything else, but this guy does. So you just got to keep talking, and like it's a constant feedback loop. And so we go back to what we were saying before, where it's when you put yourself on that path and you're pushing towards the right thing, the whole universe will conspire to make that thing happen for you. But you have to believe in it, and you have to know that that's what you're chasing and that's what you want.
It's something you said in there I agree with, because it's kind of how I'm running my business and my life, is that I find desperation creates inspiration. And I don't want to have to be in desperate times to be inspired to do something. But I've found that, you know, when I take the biggest risks and I'm in the biggest hole, I tend to create the coolest shit. I don't know if you're the same, bro. Like, does that happen for you?
And I think it's a famine. So there's a feast versus famine mindset. And something I observe massively in Australia is the famine mindset.
Yeah.
So once we get into that mindset where it's like, you know, we're battlers and we got to do this and we got to do that.
I'm the underdog.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, oh, bro, you don't know where I came from. You don't know about, like, bro, we all know everyone's got a story. Everyone's got an issue. Everyone's got a problem. And that's not to put anyone's issues or problems down, but everyone has their rock bottom, right? And when you get rock bottom, you can't go anywhere else. And so we develop a mindset here in Australia, and I think we self-sabotage super heavily so that we can hit that rock bottom again. So we can go, oh yeah, this really sucks. Let's swing forward, you know? And so that's what I've been kind of working with and kind of wrestling with myself at the moment, because we've had so much growth in the last 12 months. Since I was 15, one of my first lifelong goals was to get a photo published in Thrasher. By the time I was 16, I had my first photo published in Thrasher, you know? And so I started running out of lifelong goals. I'm like, how does this keep happening? Like, you know, like then I had a dream to, you know, do all this other stuff and work in esports. And then my dream was always to work for the Chiefs. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, I'm working at the Chiefs. So I think if you keep focused on that, you can start to shift that energy, and you got to find your point that you're going to swing forward again. And that point, you don't always have to swing back to. You just got to find a way to rebalance yourself.
The pendulum piece that you were talking about before the podcast really hit me, because you're right. It's like you swing just to that point, and it's either you got to keep going that little bit more to get to what you actually want and what you deserve. And I've felt that in the past too, where my whole story around the whole Broncos were right there, and I let it go because I wasn't ready for the next step, the next bit of the pendulum swinging forward. How the hell did you let your pendulum keep on swinging and end up in America where you're hanging out with like YG and shit? Like, explain that.
Shit. Yeah. So I don't know. There was something in there that I was trying to work out. And so Hermetic principles, there's a pendulum that swings in life. It's always swinging forward and back. And then what I've been kind of thinking about recently is when you swing so far forward, you can only swing so far forward from that one middle point. And everyone says you have to reset your middle point, but you can't shift an entire pendulum if you're already on that pendulum. You've got to move pendulums, right? So you're swinging back, you're swinging forward. And some people like you swing forward, you got to the Broncos, and then you swing back because you didn't trust yourself to jump to that next pendulum, right? I've done that many times in my life as well, where I've gotten there and then I get to this point where I'm feeling right now, where everything's a crunch, and it's like, we've got all this stuff happening in LA, we've got this stuff happening here, we want to do a studio, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do talent. And all of it feels like rock bottom. But it's only feeling like, and part of me is saying, hey, just swing back. Like, it's fine, just go get a job. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go get a fucking normal job. Are you kidding me? So I've swung forward, and then I've realized that it's not because I'm stuck or I'm at rock bottom or something like that, but this pendulum that I'm on can no longer swing forward. So I need to shift to this one here so this one can swing away from where I am. And that's how you're going to keep swinging and moving forward. So that energy shift for me has been a big one. it's kind of, I feel like I'm kind of folding time-space continuum to get to another pendulum or something. Like, I don't know if there's limitations on those pendulums. I don't think there is anymore, but I used to think there was. And so swinging forward is just, now it's just a mindset to me. So we get to this point and we need to stop. We need to reset. We need to look and go, okay, we want to do all these things. We just achieved a crazy amount in the last 6 months. So let's have a look at what we think we can do in the next 12 months. And if we do it in 2, fantastic. We'll swap pendulums again.
Yeah. And I love that. Like, I'm picturing Tarzan just swinging from pendulum to pendulum. Way better
way to do it.
Yeah. But again, like, how can you become Tarzan? Like, what are some things that you had to become to swing to the next pendulum while you're in America, especially because even I felt my body restrict when I saw you around people like, is it Dirty Goth Boy, Mikki?
Mikki, my boy. I love that guy.
Seems like a really cool guy, man.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like your YG, your David Dobrik, like you started to get around these people and it was just all of a sudden. Yeah. How did you become that version that, like, I guess you didn't really question yourself being around those people. They're just humans, right? It's not like, oh my God, this is such and such, which I now feel really comfortable being the same, where it's like, it's just the boy, it's like one of the boys, as you said, with Mikki or with him all the time. But was there any moments where you started to question yourself and what you were doing over there?
Oh yeah, of course. I still question it now. Sometimes I wake up, even like what I'm about to talk about, for sure, I'll be like, I can't believe any of this happened sometimes. But yeah, it's again, it's removing those limiting beliefs. You are capable of so much more, and there is no ceiling. Like, it's just an open universe. If the universe keeps expanding, then there's no reason why you can't keep expanding. So that's kind of my mindset moving over to LA. The idea behind LA was like, we were kind of struggling with the project, to be honest. There was no website to promote. We were trying to come up with our own stuff. We just weren't in sync. And so we got the chance to go over there and shoot a piece of content with the Kurgo guys. When we got there, the vision was that we just nail it and just suss it out and just see what we can make of this thing. So I removed all expectations. It was just go there and do the best job possible that you can do, and we'll see where it takes us. When we got there, we did exactly that. Just did the best job we possibly could. We showed up every single day and just went to work, and they were like, hey, actually, these guys are killing it. They know what they're doing. Let's keep it going. So then it shifted, right? So it shifted the energy. And then an opportunity came up, and I looked at Amina, and shout out to my incredible wife, Amina, has always supported me. Oh, she's the best. Yeah. I'd marry her like 15 times, I reckon. Anyway, I looked at her and I was like, hey, this is what's happening over there. They're setting up a content house in LA. They're going to have people going through that are, just going to take absolute advantage of this. I know how to do a content house because we've just done it with the Chiefs. We had, the biggest gaming house in Australia, and there was people coming through all the time. So I knew how to do that, right? So I just focused on what I knew. Just
for anyone listening, content houses where they're just getting consistent content and marketing, branding put together and posted on socials and stuff, right?
Yeah. It's basically like a bunch of TikTokers in a house, and they're filming content every single day, except Mikki's absolutely not a TikToker. Please don't. Yeah, cut that. No. So Mikki moved into the house, and it becomes Mikki's house, right? So then we're working kind of around Mikki and the content that he wants to do, and we're also bringing people through to talk about Kurgo and have fun and create content and things like that. And so I recognize that as an opportunity for us to again show value. And so I was like, hey, Amina, I'm going to go to the US for 3 months. And I'm going to work out what we're going to do when we get there. We obviously already had the contract. And just in case the immigration department's listening, we are allowed to work on the ESTA visa. But I wasn't working per se. I was just there to help organize the house, and the business is still in Australia. And so we're there, and we're like, everyone, it's coming to crunch time. And all of a sudden I get handed this list of like 160 influencers, because Mikki is a very, very popular guy, like very famous, very connected, and just a very genuine and smart guy as well. I hate saying this on recording, but he's a great dude. And so he hands me this list of influencers, and he's just kind of like, go contact everybody. And like, I'm looking at this list, like the first name on there is Cowboy Cerrone. Then we go down the list. Rampage is on there, YG's on there. There's a whole heap of rappers, a whole heap of people that I've only ever followed on social media. And I don't have a choice now because I'm already here. So I have to swing forward because there is no going back. Going back is back in another country, like, and that's just not happening. So there's nowhere to go, back against a wall. And that was probably the moment that I first realized that you step onto another pendulum and just start swinging again. And so I did exactly that. Basically, just busted out like a Rolodex. We just started going one by one through this whole list, contacting them. Hey, do you want to work with this? Hey, do you want to do that? Do you want to do some content?
Through like DMs or something, or calling?
DMs, calling, could be, yeah. Or I'd send a message, or Mikki would call, and like, we'd jump on and have a chat with them. And yeah, it was just this whole connection web of just insanity, which then led to us, working with guys like, we sponsored David Dobrik's birthday party. We did a phase party, which was a big thing for us because coming from esports and gaming. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but ultimately I've got like Kevin and the guys at Kurgo and Mikki, Taylor, Travis, all of them to thank for that opportunity, and the guys here, Mina, Nick, Josh, for letting me and trusting me to go and do that.
Dude, you held it down.
Thank you.
Made that experience. Like,
hey, I had plenty of crying. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did you? So while you were over there, bro, being away obviously from your beautiful wife and like just like our culture and everything, what were some things you noticed that you come back with like a whole new perspective on things?
The first thing I noticed was the notion of family, and people are going to talk about, like people talk about Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious as a family. Yeah. Family is a very interesting thing to me because growing up in Australia, all my family was in New Zealand. So I don't have the traditional family ties or family connections. Like, I never went around to my grandmother's house on a Sunday for a roast or something like that. So I don't have any of that. When I got to LA, it was the first time I felt in a very long time that I was just immediately around family. Like they were looking after me, that, we're going to the gym, we're doing stuff together. And it was just like this whole, it's like, okay, you're back here again. If we're going to do this, like we're going to do it as a family. And they just embraced me and like loved me and just gave me space and time to do what I need to do and trust. And it was the first time again, I guess in my professional career, that I'd kind of been around people that didn't have a preconceived notion of me. They had no idea who I was or what I was doing. So I was able to just straight up be the chief, because there was no one there who was like, "What, you weren't like this in high school?" Like, whatever, bro, that was 15 years ago. You know what I mean? That didn't exist, right? So then I'm just the chief, and then I'm like, okay, well, how's the chief going to, operate in this family, in this new family unit? And they just trusted me and gave me the strength and energy to do everything I needed to do. And that was one of the most empowering moments of my life. And like, I've said thank you to them many times for that. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Cause these guys came from like, they got crazy, crazy backstories, which I won't go into on camera, but their stories are incredible. And the fact that they've gone from where they were to here, in 5 or 6 years, is just amazing. And so to be around that energy and just be in an ecosystem where everyone's pushing and wanting to grow, it was the first time I felt like, I said before, it's a lot easier to throw a rope down than to, try to lift 6 people up. It was the first time I felt like we all were sitting in the same hole, but we all had our own ladders to get out. And we all knew we were climbing up to that next level. And that's what we're doing. We're climbing. And when we get to that top, we're all going to be there together. And it's not because we needed someone else to lift us up. We're obviously all helping each other at the same time, but we're all climbing the ladder as well at the same time. And it was consistent, just incredible energy.
Dude, that's so big because, we hear it so many times. The people you're around is kind of like probably most likely who you'll become. And if they're really positive, high energy, getting after it, you're going to have some fucking cool conversations. Yeah. If you were to give the listener a few maybe like character traits or things that you noticed that made those guys successful, yourself, the people you've been around, what are some common themes you see for the people that are getting shit done and succeeding in life?
Wow. There's a few. One of them would be definitely consistency. Consistency in showing up. Doesn't matter how you show up, you have to show up every single day. When you show up, you're not going to show up and not do anything. Like, you're not going to get to the gym and not work out. You're not going to go to work and not do work or whatever, if you're showing up every single day, which is what they do, and like they'll come to the house or they'll be on a meeting, or we'll be on a call at midnight or 3 a.m. or whatever it might be, so that we can line up with South Africa and all that kind of thing. So wherever we need to be in the world, everybody's showing up. And I think that's probably what, like going back to the hole in the ground analogy again, is in Australia we have a famine mindset. So there's only one ladder. Right? So everybody waits for the one guy to make it out.
Lots of gatekeeping.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's in the same hole, and they're all going, oh yeah, go Aiden. Whereas over there, there's one hole, but there's 6 ladders. So everyone's like, this is a feast mentality, like it's just a different vibe. It's like, well, if he's got a ladder, then I've got a ladder too, And so that's the difference in opportunity, I think, between what we have in Australia versus our mindset in Australia versus our mindset in America.
You said something about there being more money in the world than sense. And you've seen some of your mates, people around you, go from like nothing to Lamborghinis and shit in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain that and just break that down for a few people? Because I'm sure one of the biggest things I find most people, especially clients, they struggle. I most of my life, money and the concept of it, how to make it, all this shit. We get told that it's hard, that it doesn't grow on trees and all this other stories, right? These programs. What's it like being around that and seeing that and then unlocking that in you and going, wow, you can actually make as much as you want?
Well, it depends what country you live in, because some countries have paper money, so it does grow on trees, right? So, yeah, I think that's probably what I just said there is a mindset shift as well, right? Even a tree could be money, or a tree is money. You got to chop it down, make money, sell the tree, sell the seeds. Everything's money. So that was a big shift for me. Like a lot of what happens in Australia in comparison is it's like we focus on a skill set, or we focus on, again, going back to that battler mentality. It's like, what can I build? What can I do to do that X, Y, Z? It's got to be physical. Whereas over there, it's very much an energy, and it's not very like, how would you explain it? It's not attached to anything physical. It's just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to give it my best. And I just believe that it's going to happen. And that's what they all believe. So it's not just this one dude. And I think that's probably the difference. And America is the land of opportunity, not because it's literally the land of opportunity. It's because everyone says it's the land of opportunity. So if every single person in the US is going, bro, this is the land of opportunity, no one's sitting there going, oh, nah, you can't do that. Like, they're just like, yeah, let's fucking send it. All right. So when you go to someone in the US and you're like, hey, I'm going to start a clothing company, your friend in the US is going to go, fuck yeah, let me buy some stuff. I'll rep it on my Instagram. Or one of the biggest ones is you could have 1,000 followers. If you walk up to Mikki and say, hey, Mikki, I want to do this content piece. Can you jump in? Mikki's going to be like, fuck yeah. Like, because it's not about you're taking or whatever. It's everybody's growing together. And that is probably the biggest difference. And that mindset shift into that world then just opens up everything. And you start to see how many people are driving down the street in a yellow Lamborghini or whatever, or they pull up in a Bentley or something.
Or the Tesla trucks now.
Yeah, but there's Cybertrucks everywhere. They're actually really sick, by the way.
It looks sick. That one that you had, was it a Budweiser one? Oh, yeah, the Happy Dad.
The Happy Dad one. Yeah, that was dope. Shout.
Yeah.
Happy Dad, bro, you want to sponsor the podcast, jump in.
Please
do.
But
so that shift, and then because we kind of grow up in a world over here where you got to be somebody to have a Lamborghini. In LA, bro, some successful banker from 1960s is driving a Lamborghini because he can. No one knows who the fuck he is. He's just a dude. And so you see all this happening and all this money and all this stuff that just does not make sense. And we sponsor a party, or like David Dobrik's party was insane. He's got a dance floor, a DJ, or we're at a party at the house and like chain smokers walk in and they're DJing a party at the house. And it's not about how much money can I make. Everybody there has already made the money. They're just there to have a good time. And that energy shift is just crazy. And then you start to realize that there is so much money in the world, and money actually probably isn't really the currency at all.
Oh, stop it. Shit. So, and on that, bro, like knowing what you've got, such an expansive mindset and understanding of things, and knowing what's actually possible, which is fucking anything. What's the thing you were going to say before? What's happening for you right now? Like, what's this thing that's almost like freaking you out a little bit?
There's a lot of things kind of happening right now. One of the things that's happening right now is we're kind of at this crunch at the moment where we need to expand our team and grow. And we've got a lot of opportunity that's happening in the US at the moment, which will completely change the way we gamble, and the way we bet on sports, and it's going to change everything. And I can't really say exactly what it is right now, but it'll completely transform that whole infrastructure globally, not just for people that gamble online, but for people who are at a race day or a track day, or at the NRL or whatever. So that is a huge opportunity, and it's going to be incredible. But we've got all these processes and stuff at the moment that at Hyper that we are trying to get right, because we've been pushing so far, so forward, and we've done it so quickly. We haven't even launched our website yet, bro. Like, it's been 2 years.
I only just got mine sorted.
Yeah, so, but it's like all of these things that people think they have to get right. We don't have any of them right. And so we need to get them right so that we can move to that next pendulum. So yeah, a shift and a move to the US is probably the biggest, most stressful thing at the moment. That's what I'd love to do. By the end of the year, I'd love to be living in the US for sure.
And is Amina open to going?
Amina wants to. Yeah. So Amina's business is actually in the US. So it's way easier for her to go. Her head office is in LA. So she's chilling. Yeah.
It's exciting times, bro. That's cool. Because even on that, something you just said, now we've already done an hour, but really? I know time-wise, we got some time.
Yeah.
What I love doing is topics with the tech. So that's me breaking down maybe some of the journal entries you shared with me, and then just some topics that I sort of put together so that can get some really tangible and valuable advice from you, right? But one of the things you mentioned before is one of the lines I hate from people, especially clients, is, I'm just waiting until, I just got to get this right. I just got to. Why do you think that is so persistent with, well, I probably know why, but what's something that's helped you break through maybe some of those moments? If you've felt that, or if you've seen it around you where someone's like, oh man, we just got to wait till this is, and you're like, no, let's just do it. Let's do it messy. Let's fucking get it done. Because that's what's kept us going forward. Because as we said before the potty, in our experiences, business has been pretty messy. And I don't think people talk about that enough. Could you open up on that a little bit?
Business has been messy, absolutely. One of the things that I think put us into that mind state where it's just get it done, I've actually got a few moments through life where that's happened. So we started when I was like 15, 16. My friend, shout out to Fenno, sitting next to me in like roll call in high school, turns to me and goes, hey man, I'm going to start a skateboard company. Do you want to start a skateboard company? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, not knowing anything. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I don't know what this means. Anyway, it turns out like we grew that to be the like number one skateboard company in Australia. We had like 250,000 fans on Facebook before. We had more fans than the governing body of skateboarding in Australia.
What was it called again?
24 skateboards.
That's right. Yeah.
It was massive, right? And so from that mindset, from where we started there, like it was like, okay, I was just a bad skateboarder with a camera. So then, all right, well, obviously I'm a photographer, right? So then that gets super messy. And then it was like we signed a $100,000 advertising contract with Thrasher. So then it's like, well, we don't have a graphic designer. How do you make an ad? So then we just work out how to make an ad. And so we're just trying. And bro, you should see some of the stuff we published in Thrasher, like I would never share it in public. I would absolutely, but it's rough.
Compared to your standards these days.
It's rough as guts. Yeah, exactly. And then, moving into esports again, esports and gaming, and there's a bit of a gap there, but the same thing happens. Like if we don't put out a piece of content or we try and, focus on it being perfect or whatever, we miss the opportunity, we miss the moment, we miss the opportunity to connect. And that's ultimately all you're doing when you're posting your content or you're doing your business or whatever. If you're not putting something out, then you're zero. If you put something out and it sucks, depending on how bad it sucks, you might have still moved forward 1%, right? Which is still better than zero.
It's better to half-ass than no-ass.
Exactly. So you just get it. Once you put stuff out and you like get the practice and get the reps in, that's when you start to get better. Nothing will ever be perfect before it's launched. It's physically impossible.
That's a pretty special mindset to have, because I find the biggest thing, especially in Australia and New Zealand, is the procrastination. So mental masturbation. I talked about it in my stories yesterday, bro, where
I like that
people
story.
just taking information with no integration. So it's mental masturbation. Yeah. And that dropped in for me yesterday.
That's a bar, by the
way. Bro, like for me, that's what sets me apart, is that I know when I'm learning, I'm implementing. I just learned something cool from Seth Godin the other day, one of the greatest, marketers going. and he said something that just hit. And I didn't just go, oh, that's sick. I did something with it.
Yeah.
So I implemented something into my business, which has now changed my business, especially how I show up in socials and stuff, right? And that will compound effects change down the path. I know content takes time for the algorithm. Does there one exist? Probably. But for me, I know now from what I've learned that people love TV series. So I'm starting to create content that's more of a like, oh, I wonder what Trav's posting today because I know he's touching on this, this, and this today, right? Yeah. But again, I'm not thinking about how does it look, how does it blah, blah, blah. I've done so many repetitions now that usually my content at least looks half decent. How the fuck do you overcome the most common thing, which is procrastination, worrying what everyone thinks? Like, do you ever still get that at all?
Every single day, bro.
Yeah, right.
Every single day I procrastinate. And it'll be over the dumbest thing. Like, it'll be like, I need to edit a video. And then I'll be like, all right, if I just sit down for 3 hours and smash this out, then all this work's going to be done and I'll be caught up. I'm never going to be caught up. But that's what I think. And then I've given myself a time there, right? So then I'm like, all right, it's only going to take 3 hours. Oh, I'll just, I'll go do this. Or actually my desk is a bit messy, so I might clean my desk up first. I got to clear mine. Actually, I work better when I'm full. So I'm going to go get something to eat, come back, and then I'll do it then. And then by the time I've done all that, it's 5 p.m. And, I've got other meetings and calls and stuff in between. And it's just I completely wasted a day. So no, it happens. It happens for sure. One of the best ways that I overcome it is exactly what you're saying. So I look at things in categories. So the video, I don't need to do the video. I need to open up Premiere Pro. As soon as I open Premiere Pro, that video is going to get edited immediately. I don't need to do a social media post. I need to find a piece of content that I like. So I'll go back and I'll look through my phone and be like, that's a cool post. And then the content will get posted. So it comes back to, I think it's Atomic Habits is a fantastic book. It's not, you're only successful as your systems are. So I focus very heavily on my systems and finding what that trigger point is to make me do something. And then I just do that trigger point.
I love that. Something Seth said, like I was listening to Seth again. I'm on a Seth binge. He said, tactics are great, but they're shit without strategy. Yeah. Now I know obviously we're doing business a little bit messy, but do you have any strategies that help you implement and become successful with what you do?
One of the things I think that has helped us become super successful in the last 24 months is just being completely open. We totally open book. We think we're the best in the world at what we do, and whether we are or not is indifferent, but we think we can do it. So if I have that kind of mindset and then someone comes to me and asks me a question about business or whatever, and I tell them exactly how to do it, I've offered them value. If they can't do it, they're going to come back to me, right? So then I've got the job. If they can do it, fantastic. I've helped someone. They're going to remember that forever. When they hit a limit and they can't do something, they're going to come back to me, right? So that mindset shift for us has been huge and exponential in the growth over the last 24 months. Just tell people how to do things.
Those sort of things, bro, I think the really practical and simplified tactics and strategies work quite well, especially these days with AI. Like I love AI. I'm all about it. My thing, I call myself the technician. I can sort of combine the woo-woo with the artificial. So I call it artificial intuition. So I feel that for me, I'm getting downloads, bro. Yeah. But I'm getting downloads that I'm able to filter now through a robot that helps me implement these things I'm getting from whatever you want to call it, universe, source, etc., and actually put it into like human shit and make it more tangible and practical, not only for myself, but for the people I'm helping. So I think I can do all these like really super high level things, but it's the simple shit that gets you forward, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's for sure the simple stuff. And then once you have the simple stuff, you can do exactly that. Like throw it in Chat GPT. Find a Instagram bot. There's one for GPT. So there's Chat GPT and there's lots of different layers of GPT. I don't know if people listening know that. A lot of people don't.
Can you explain real quick what that might be? So someone's spent time on Chat to create another bot within Chat.
Exactly. So they've taken Chat GPT and then they've trained it to be an expert in a very specific niche. So for example, there's one for tweets. So you can go in and you go into Chat GPT, and then you can go in and it'll say find other GPTs, type in Twitter or X, and you'll find a bot that helps you write a viral tweet based on the tweets that are going viral, in the last 3-4 months. So
it's got a formula that it's already got.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's reading all the tweets, and it gets better every single day because it's constantly reading new viral tweets. And so you can get there, and then you don't have, that removes the layer of thinking the first layer of thinking, and it gives you the idea. You're going to look at that and go, I think it could be better, or I can personalize it like this. As soon as you do that, then you've got the content piece. But you can do that. You can say to ChatGPT, give me 1,000 ideas. I don't recommend it. It takes a long time to generate, but you can say, give me 10 tweets for the next 10 days. And it'll give you 10 tweets for the next 10 days. And then you just personalize them and, it's done. That's Twitter. But you can do that for Twitter. You can do that for writing. You can do that for Instagram. You can do that for kids' books. There's one that does coloring books. So there's people out there making money now who go into ChatGPT, say, generate me a picture of a koala painting a cat. And it will do it in black lines. So it's a coloring in page. And then they just take that, put it in a book and sell it on Etsy. Don't tell me you can't make money these days. It's crazy.
That's what frustrates me, bro, is that I get people still saying, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What do you mean? There's a robot that you can say, and you can talk to the motherfucker now and be like, hey, chat, I don't know what to do. But I also get it because I understand that people just, they're not there. This is the limiting beliefs. This is the shadow work. This is the blocks. This is they don't know what's actually possible. Their capacity is limited to what only they know. Their traditions. As you said before at the start of the podcast, bro, traditions is a killer of so many dreams. Yeah. Because I said to one of my clients recently, well, dude, I was trying to tell him something that in my mind, I'm like, this makes sense. Yeah. Why don't you do this? And then he come back with me, oh, it's just how we've always done it. And I said to him, I looked at him dead in the eyes and I said, so you're telling me if one of your traditions is to cut your dick in half, you're still going to do it and not question it? Yeah. And he basically was like, well, yeah. And he go, oh no, he said, oh, that's different. I said, how is it? Yeah. How is it? I know it's a very extreme example, but you're still just following what everyone's done for this. Like, have you heard of the turkey in the oven?
No.
But this family's at a Christmas dinner, and I think the great-great-granddaughter was like preparing the turkey. And I think the mum or something was like, oh, you got to make sure that you cut off the legs or something like that, the bottom quarter. And she just asked the question, like, why? And then the mum was like, hold on a second. Mum, why do we do this? Yeah. And then she explained that, oh, you go down the line to great-great-grandma or whatever. It's just what they had to do because their ovens were smaller.
That's great.
They couldn't eat the whole turkey because they didn't have a big enough bloody oven to cook the thing. So they'd cut part of it off. So they just always did that. So imagine how many people are literally just going by tradition. It's what we always did. And that's not judging anyone. I don't want to because this is the thing. This is the shit thing is that so many people are living in an unconscious life. And that's why I do what I do. I want to rewire people's limiting beliefs, shadows and programs, so they live a conscious life, consciously choosing what they want to do, consciously being what they want to be, being in relationships they actually enjoy, and they're not toxic ones because that's all they learned growing up as a kid, that chaos was normal. That's love. Oh, well, I better get some shit cunt that I spend my life with because that makes me feel love. Yeah. So
generational coffee tables.
Yeah, dude, literally. Like, where's that coffee table in the backyard that we got to bring into the house for some reason?
Stop handing down your coffee tables.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like that in itself, because again, we now have a world where it is so easy to make money. Yeah. But yet we're being told it's the hardest time ever. Rent is like, I'm not going to invalidate anyone's experience, guys. Like, I know it's hard. I'm well aware that there's so many people struggling. There's war, like World War III. There's some crazy shit happening. I'm not avoidant of that stuff. I just don't focus on it. Yeah. I focus on my family and myself and the people I'm supporting and loving. Yeah. Is that a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think we have to focus on, everyone. I look at it very differently. Everyone has their own struggles and everyone has their hard. Like if you could go work at, a corporate job and get fired. I think Jim Carrey's got a fantastic quote about that with his dad. His dad could have been an incredible comedian, but he chose to go the normal road and he ended up getting fired and losing his job and then fell into depression. Whereas Jim Carrey went the opposite way and went, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go be a comedian. And it worked out. What we're doing right now is working out fantastic. But, 5-10 years down the track, I'm 100% certain I'm going to be doing something completely different. And it's not because one thing failed or whatever. It's just because we keep shifting and we keep pushing and I keep looking for a new hard. Some people don't want to look for a new hard. Some people want to stay in the same hard, stay in the same bubble and live that life. And there was something I had to learn very young is that everyone has a different expectation on the quality of life. What's right for you is not right for me. And there's nothing that I can do there's nothing that I should do to like take you off your path to your personal legend or, whatever you want to achieve. I can help you do it, but I should never do something that should knock you off that. Some people, their personal legend is to be a scaffolder, it is to be a tradie, it is to be the best, builder in the city. And that is completely fine. It's just not my heart.
And it's for the people that are listening that are sick of that shit. Like if you actually know deep down in your heart, you're avoiding that business that you want to start, or the skateboard magazine, or whatever it might be, like something that people question and go, oh, you can't do that. That's not what our family's always done. Like we want you to know that there's people, and especially us, I know Aiden would be, if you DM'd him and just said, hey bro, how did you do this? I'm sure he's going to respond and be like, oh bro, just do this.
Absolutely.
Because you're not a gatekeeper.
No.
I'm the same, man. I have like 40 to 50 DMs a week of people trauma bombing me and just going, this is happening. My family's falling apart. My missus just left me, all these things. And I can give really practical support, but at the same time, I can't go deep without them also energetically exchanging what my high level skill is now worth.
Yeah, exactly.
I value my shit too much, bro. I'd never used to. I used to take the piss out of myself and just be trying to save everyone. Not everyone wants to be saved.
No.
They're also not ready.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
you got to be ready for it too. Yeah.
So, bro, like we got like another 15 minutes if you're cool with
Absolutely,
that.
I'm here.
I've got 10 questions here.
Rapid.
It could go longer than 15, 20 minutes. Who knows? Because I'm fucking loving this.
Yes,
I'm sure everyone listening really is. And I'm already thinking about 2.0, 3.0, all the things. But okay, question 1. What's a moment in your life where staying in your comfort zone would have been easier, but stepping out of it created massive growth?
Oh, I got a perfect example. So I used to work at Commonwealth Bank, and previously I used to be terrified to be in front of a camera, like to the point where like I would kind of sweat and break down. Like I never did public speaking or anything. Where I did an entertainment course. I wouldn't walk across the stage, even if the curtains were closed, if I knew there was people in the crowd.
Oof.
Like it was terrible. And then so one day at Commonwealth Bank, this dude does the news, Tom Petrovsky. He does the news like every day on national news for the stock update. Anyway, they do a show like that internally at the Commonwealth Bank. And the lady that was originally doing it couldn't do it. And someone turned to me, I've got no idea why, and just went, hey, you're a guy who could do this. And I was like, hell yeah, I am. And then so I drove all the way into the city, walked into this studio with like a full film crew, just exactly like this podcast setup, actually. Shout out to Focal. It was crazy. And so it's like camera crew, bro, I've got a teleprompter, everything like that. I'm in a suit and tie, and it's like, bang. And it's like, hi, welcome to DB Snapshot. I'm Aiden Hiko. This is the update for the week. And I just went bang and nailed it first go. And everybody in the room went, that's perfect. And so I turned into like not being good in front of a camera to somehow nailing it first go. And then every time I would drive into the city, it would take me an hour to drive into the city every week. I would do that one take every single week. And they just loved it. To the point where they started getting other people to come in earlier. And so that step up then led to me applying for a role on a esports TV show, which is how I got into esports. So there was a TV show that Channel 9 was picking up. We got picked up by Channel 9. We filmed 2 pilots into the Telstra studios. Then Channel 7 launched their own esports gaming show. And so Channel 9 went, we're just going to hold off and see how this one goes. It flopped, so they never put ours up. But through that, I met Nick, Josh, everybody in esports. So that moment there when I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I better get in front of the camera, literally made me the person I am today.
Dude, that's a lesson and a half.
Yeah.
For anyone listening right now, just understand this. The simple concept is he did the fucking thing.
Yeah, he did it. He just said yes. I said yes. I worked it out later.
Said yes and worked it out, man. Like I don't know if I haven't. Well, I wouldn't have shared this with you because I haven't seen it. But last week, bro, I went to have a meeting. Now, this meeting, I recently, a few months ago, decided that I really want to work with business owners and athletes. Specifically, I'll work with anyone. I believe I can. The reason why I chose like entrepreneurs, business owners, corporate owners, like Az here, shout out to Az, and athletes, someone like Zion Williamson, right? I see how many issues a lot of athletes have. I know that if I could help them with their off-field shit, not only do they become a better player, they become a better person, but they influence 99% of the world.
Yeah.
I like a LeBron James. bro, look at how many people look up to him. So if I can be the guy that's supporting them off the field to help them not only play better, so their teams get better, they make more money, there's a tangible, practical result.
Yeah.
But then the people watching them, you don't have NRL players doing stupid shit because they don't know how to deal with their demons and their shadows and the monsters. So then they don't have addiction problems. They don't have problems drink driving and all this other stuff. They don't have relationship issues because I help them to understand how to be better in their relationships. You know, all these things. I called that in. I thought, that's my 10-year. I want to be like a Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's and Kobe's coach. I'm reading his book literally today and I'm just losing my mind. And so many synchronicities, right? I told one of the boys, 10 years from now, bro, I see myself, and I had a dream. Holy shit. I had a dream. I saw myself on the sideline of an NBA game and a commentator was like, yo, that's the technician. That's who worked with Kobe Jordan, you know, the next superstar that is now playing good because this, and this. Within a week, I booked this meeting with this dude who's like one of the top agents in Australia for athletes. We have this meeting and now there's opportunities to come from it, right? So that 10 years just turned into like 10 days. I don't know if something's going to come from it. He said there is. If it happens, cool. If not, I already know the path is there.
Yeah.
The path is lit.
Yeah.
Like you just said, the moment might not have been the moment, but whatever's just unfolding right now, it's perfect and everything's going to come to me. So the coolest part of it was I did a video recently speaking into Zion because I hate how much like shitty cops for like being fat. He's not even fat, but all those sort of things. And they're like, oh, he gets paid $40 million. Why can't he do this? I'm like, well, exactly. Why does a dude that could pay for a chef, he's got personal training, he's the most elite athlete in the world, got all these systems and stuff. Why is he still overweight? He's had it in his contract. So I'm like, well, has anyone ever thought about the fact that he emotionally eats?
Yeah.
Does he have trauma that no one's ever actually helped him with?
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe he's just lazy. I don't know. But I had to bring in this other option.
Yep.
And this dude's like, oh, you might be able to meet him next year. I can't say much more about that, but this is the sort of shit,
I'll be
right?
there, bro.
Yeah, there's this sort of shit where it's like, oh, damn, okay. But it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
It feels right. And what you just said there, it's like, I just did the thing. I was fucking terrified. I drove 4 hours in the morning from Sunshine Coast to Gold Coast.
Sick.
And I was like shitting myself, almost literally. Like I had to do the last minute like poo at the office pretty much and go up like, hey, bro. But it just, again, bro, like great. What you just said, just did the thing. So in that long-winded piece, guys, like from question one, the answer being, what are the things you're avoiding doing? How you're overcomplicating it? How can you also have someone hold you accountable? Because I think that's a big piece, right? Having someone go, hey, bro, when are you going to do that thing?
Yeah, definitely. I hate that, like with a passion. Yeah. Because they're always right. Mm-hmm. But when someone says that to me, Amina is fantastic at it. Like she'll be like, hey, have you done that thing yet? And I'll be like, damn it. Fuck. That's, damn.
Triggering me. You're so right.
Yeah, she's so right all the time. But yeah, so that happens a lot. But having someone that can keep you accountable. For me, I didn't have anyone that could keep me accountable to the level that I wanted people to keep me accountable. So what I found that would work for me was just sharing my dreams with my friends and being like, you know, that they'd sit there and they'd be like, yeah, okay, we'll go and do it, bro. But like, I don't know how the fuck you're going to do that. And whether they believed it or not, they would ask me the next time they saw me, hey, did you do that thing? Like, did that work out for you? And it would be like, oh shit, I haven't done that yet. I better do that to keep myself accountable because this is my best friend we're talking about, you know? So yeah, some people can keep you accountable without actually knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, dude, that's one of my biggest pieces of my coaching is literally just holding clients accountable.
Yeah.
Hey, Monday, what are your 3 things you're going to do this week? Wednesday, check-in. Why the fuck haven't you started?
Yeah.
Friday, you better have done it or we're not doing our session next week.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that simple stuff along with the deeper stuff works really well. Shout out to my very good friend, Semi Rayathava, who practically does the same thing. It's like, checks in on Monday, bro, what are you going to do this week? Like, damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see you. Question 2. What's one of the most unexpected realizations you've had about yourself through self-reflection over the last couple of years?
There are so many things I could say in that question. I guess probably one of the biggest things that has surprised me in self-reflection is being worthy of the things that we're achieving and the things that we're having success with. I spent so much of my time growing up thinking that I wasn't worthy of things because I wasn't the right mold for other people. and then discovering your own mold is scary enough, and then discovering that you can achieve that is another thing, and you can achieve it without thinking that you're worthy of it. But the moment that you think you're worthy of it and that you're meant to be there, that's when everything just locks in.
Yeah, beautiful. When you started gaining momentum, how did you handle any sort of criticism or judgment that came from others?
I don't really care, bro. Yeah, no one. There's a cool quote: "Nobody that is doing more than you will ever criticize you. It's always the ones that are doing less. So don't worry about them."
And that was the second piece, where it was like to give someone advice around, like, they might be paralyzed by the fear of judgment, right? And look, I can understand some people might have the deeper traumas around those sort of things, and but so did I. I was literally bullied in school. People probably don't know this or believe this or whatever. Like, oh, you're the technician. Man, I was never the technician.
Yeah.
I was the most shy, awkward motherfucker you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
I could barely talk to my parents. I was that shy, you know?
Yeah.
So to now be, interviewing people on camera and putting out content every day and speaking on stage as a fucking inspiring speaker.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you saw, I spoke on stage with James O'Connor at the end of last year. And that day was brutal for me in the best way, because I realized that day, almost to the date, was a 17-year cycle where I was the kid who was laying in bed depressed, wanting to kill himself. And I would have to listen to YouTube and stuff. Well, I don't know if you know it was YouTube back then, but just inspiring stuff to get me out of bed. And now I was the dude on stage doing that for other dudes.
Yeah.
And women. Like, that was so special for me that day. And it was this full body moment.
Hell yeah.
And ever since then, dude, and even at that presentation, I had some people come up and offer some crazy opportunities afterwards, because I was just me. All the other sellers sold and had like QR codes, and I think I forgot to say who I was. I had so much fun, man. I was talking about Space Jam and shit, and just I'm really close with Jock. Can I say it? Yeah, I can say this.
Yeah. You can cut it out after.
He's going to hook me up with an opportunity to go to New Zealand this year. I'll just say
cool.
that much.
So
he's over there playing for the Crusaders.
Yep.
I'll just say he's hooked me up with some cool people.
Yeah,
to do some podcasting over there. So, but again, bro, like, it's like, don't care what the ones that don't matter think, because look at the ones that you get to be around by doing so.
Yeah. When you're on the path to what you want to, when you're on the right path and what things you want to achieve and everything like that, like I said, the whole universe conspires to make it happen. I do think there might be a world when, if that's the case, if you're on the wrong path and nothing's working out, then, but you think you're on the right path, you're probably not on the right path, because the universe is trying to move you back over here. So I think it all knows. That's
a great lesson. Big Sean and Jay Shetty just did a third podcast, and Big Sean talked about that, where you can feel that misalignment in your life and you'll notice the pull, the tug, and just notice it. Being aware of it can be so important, because for me, I felt that recently. I was trying to do business the way everyone else is doing, online coaching and stuff. And I just thought, man, I don't want to do this shit. It seems cheesy. It seems corny. It seems dorky. Like, I want to do my own thing. And I thought, yeah, of course I can, man. I can literally do a freestyle rap like Big X. And he did that song therapy session. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I could do weekly lessons, but I do a rap that's teaching people about shadow work.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? Right? So it's like, how different can you be once you start to be in alignment? You've clearly made some big decisions to get where you are. How'd you build that self-trust to actually make those decisions?
So there's two things in there that I think people need to look at closely, like experts. I'm not the expert, but there's this thing that came popular like 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago, called decision fatigue. Right? And so decision fatigue, all the executives at the Commonwealth Bank, bro, they all had the exact same suit, same shirt, same tie. They wear the same thing every day. They have 5 or 6 in their thing. And the thought process behind that was, if you can wake up and you know what you're already wearing, then that's a decision that you don't have to make. And it's a decision that you can apply to something else. I did that for ages. I had the same shirts, same shorts, same shoes, so that I could remove that decision. I think that's very damaging now, because decision making is a muscle. And the more decisions you make, the easier it gets at making the decisions, because you become more comfortable with making the right call, for one, but you also become extremely comfortable with making the wrong call, because you're used to that. You go, okay, I've already recovered from that situation. So I think for me, finding a way to make as many decisions as possible. Don't just coast through life. Go get a vanilla latte and the next day get a caramel latte. Mix it up a little bit, throw your path around so that your brain gets used to trying and doing and accepting different situations. That is probably the biggest thing that has helped me grow in the last few months. I think decision fatigue, throw that shit in the bin.
Bro, that is definitely going to be a clip, because I think that's what people really struggle with, is like, oh, what do I do? Yeah. And that they'll come to me and go, Trav, tell me what to do. I'm like, I'm going to just throw this right back on you. What do you believe is best? Because as you said, it's building a muscle.
Yeah.
Like, you just get better and better and better over time. And I said this in my post, I think it was, or maybe I haven't said it yet. I might have said it last night. I'm loving seeing all these dudes doing like high rocks and run clubs and everyone's getting fit, right?
Yeah.
It's sick. The issue I'm seeing is that they think that that's them getting better. It is in one avenue. They're looking good, but they're still fucking cooked. Like they don't emotionally, they're not stable. Their relationships are falling apart because they don't know how to be a man, or for women as well. You don't know how to show up, right? You don't trust yourself. You have self-worth issues. You're doing all this sort of shit. And it's like, I love that people are getting healthy. I'm doing it myself at the moment, but at least my thing above my neck is really powerful and really strong to handle the life that comes. Do you agree with that?
That's a great way to put it. And it just actually triggered something in my brain, because I'm exactly like that. One of my biggest blocks is obviously health, and that's my little kid thing that I need to let go of, or I need to embrace being big. I haven't decided. I want a six-pack, but I'll work on that. But one of my friends said to me when he was younger, he was like, I'm like, why do you train so hard? But he did it bad. Like, he wasn't eating, whatever. And he was like, you've never seen a sad dude with a six-pack. And he said that when we were like 15, 16. And then I remember when we were like 22, 23, he went down a real dark path. He turned to me one day and he was like, have you ever tried meth? And I was like, no, bro. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you'd love meth. I think you should try meth. He's like, we can get some if you want. And it was at that moment I realized like he was not in a good space. And I actually said to him, I was like, what happened to, you've never seen a sad kid with a six-pack? And he was like, I don't have a six-pack anymore. And I was like, I don't think you were ever happy. And we had this like bounce back. And since then, he's got a six-pack back. So I think there's something in that. Like, some people might need to get healthy and then fix their brain. And then other people like you and I, we fixed our brains. Now when we get healthy, it's going to be integration.
Well, I'll share with the people listening, and maybe this will land for you, bro. What changed for me recently, like truly, I can feel it, because I don't crave Maccas anymore or anything, because there's a lot of emotional ups and downs, especially having a spicy brain, ADHD, autism, everyone's just, no, fuck. I've literally been to the doctors and everything, getting my official diagnosis this year sorted.
Yeah.
Whatever. What comes with that is that my nervous system and my emotional regulation is a little bit harder sometimes. How I take in and process things like conflict resolution, people's judgments and stuff. It can affect me a little bit more. It's something I've gotten really good at. What my mentor said to me, shout out to Jessica Ann, if anyone needs a coach, sheesh, that woman is a witch in the best way. She made me realize that most of my life I've stifled my emotions with food. So, or supported or suppressed them, whatever word you want to use.
Fuck.
And she took me back to the first moment I did that. And that's when it, like, this is the power of shadow work and stuff, right? Inner child work. So mine was a moment with Dad. I won't share because I don't want Dad to seem like a bad dude. He's a fucking awesome dude. Shout out to Rob Cochran. I wouldn't be the man I am today without him. But I had to clear something for the little boy. And every time I told these stories around him, or anyone else that may have caused things in my life, I'd always go, oh, they were doing the best they could. Well, they probably could. They probably weren't, though, as well. But the little boy never felt validated in the experience. So now he feels so heard and seen and loved. This process Jess took me through brought him back in. And she said, like, yeah, dude, there was like a soul fragment that was happened for you, so that your only way to deal with your emotions was through the dopamine fixes of takeaway, fast food. Bro, COVID 2020 ruined me because my missus at the time got locked out of the country. How did I survive? Beers and KFC, because KFC was just up the road.
Sick.
Something come through?
I'm so angry. Yeah.
Hey.
So I can think of the exact moment. So I had bad ear problems when I was a kid. I've always had bad issues. And I got really sick and they put me on a steroid called prednisone. And so I used to be a real skinny kid. Like they called me Bruiser when I was born because I was so small. And so I came out as this tiny little kid running around, and then I would have been under 6s, under 7s rugby, and they put me on this prednisone, which is a steroid, and we had to tell the referees and everything like that, like, oh, this kid's on steroids. And I remember being like, yeah, exactly, bro, I'm 6 or 7 years old, right? First of all, like, the steroids aren't going to do anything. They're not like muscle growth steroids. It's a doctor's steroid.
Yeah.
But I remember being at Winnie Leagues, like, on the field, and everyone's talking about how I'm not allowed to play because I'm on steroids, and I'm a tiny kid. And I remember my mom, like, I was just visibly upset, right? And my mom took me to Macca's. And I can remember eating the nuggets and just feeling good. And now that you've said that, I'm like, that is my entire life. The moment I get stressed, I go, I want to fucking go eat something so that I can knock out this work. Or like, I literally do that, bro. I'll go to the shops. I'll get like, 2 bottles of sparkling water, and one of my go-tos is a Monster and a bag of chips. And bro, I can do anything with those 2 things in my hand. Fuck.
I won't take you through the process on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I know what you need to go through.
Yeah, that's so I'd never considered it like that. But I can remember holding the box of nuggets.
It's also a piece of like, for anyone listening, knowing what you might know about the subconscious mind, how it's programmed from 0 to 7 is really important for a lot of kids. Now, I don't want to sit here and act like I'm an expert, right? I like to think that as a coach, as a mentor, I try to do things to a degree that's within my scope, to get people on their journey. Like, I love rewiring people, because then they go out and do the deeper shit. Maybe they go see a psychologist or whatever. Mm. But for me, dude, knowing what you would have went through and what stays suppressed in our unconscious mind, even that is in a way traumatic, because everyone was judging you as a little boy. Because I know a moment for me that was really integral for my whole story that I've only told on a couple of podcasts because they asked the right question. I'll never forget that when I was 8 or 9 years old, I was bigger than everyone. I was a giant. And I destroyed this kid, bro. His teeth fell out of his head. Like, it was pretty brutal when I think about it. But all the parents were like, get him off the fucking field. He's too big. He's too big. And rah, rah, rah. So I learned that day that, I got to play small. I can't use my full strength and be the full version of me because I hurt people. Yeah. So that then, and the reason I share that is like, yeah, it's fully programmed into you then. To stay safe, I must then have this survival mechanism of playing smaller. Otherwise, all these parents, everyone hates me, like I'm kicked out of society, which as kids, being kicked out of where you love or where you think you need love and where you get love, your survival mechanism, we must do anything to stay in this society right now. Yeah. So again, I wonder how much deeper that actually goes, but what it'll do for you, bro, for the little boy to go, oh, dude, I don't have to do this anymore. Sick. I'm just going to let you go deal with your emotions in the right way, where it's maybe sitting with them, feeling, breathing, journaling. Yeah. And now I feel better and I don't have to go and get that thing.
Well, that was what I discovered. Like when I first did the course with you, even listening to your podcast. So when I first started listening to the podcast, I think one of the first episodes that really hit me was with the corrective culture guys and this journey that he went through to getting to that point. And I was just like, I take so much out of your podcast and the lessons that you teach, because I am super self-analytical and self-reflective. And I think that's why it's such a different experience with the course. Like Amina's experience, she had something that she had to get over and move past, which was, cutting her more than she ever let anybody know. Whereas for me, my experience with you, like there was definitely things I had to get through. But my experience in that whole 8-week thing was a way more euphoric experience because I'd already done a lot of that shadow work already, subconsciously, unknowingly. Yeah. So every time you say something like that, like even that, I can think back and I'm like, I already feel relieved. Like I'm already just like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like crazy.
Because again, from what I've noticed, and like I might be saying this wrong, I don't really care. Yeah. From what I experience with when I'm doing my shadow work, and because I've done this for like 3 years now, and Lockie's been one of the main proponents of that, like took me through some crazy shit. Even had breakthroughs about money on the podcast when he was just asking me questions. So similar to you, it's like if we're asked the right questions and we have the realization, then it's like, boom, okay, yeah, well, now I'm consciously aware of it. I'm going to stop doing it.
You know how many times I've questioned why I have that memory in my head? Like,
Oh shit! So you've been aware of that.
I've been like, why do you remember this? It's an unnecessary thing to remember. Now I know exactly
now
why
you can catch it and you can change what you're doing, like you said before. Because that's it. Like, I bring things up for people a lot of the time and they become aware of it, and then they choose not to actually do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because you've reeled in the ugly little fish out from the deep dark sea.
Yeah.
We've brought it up to the top, and you're like, are you gonna go fucking throw the thing on the barbecue and eat it, or are you just gonna let it swim around again and go back down?
I'm not letting that thing breathe.
Yeah.
It's the end of the bloodline.
Sick. Gun. Okay, cool. Bro, last question, because it looks like we're nearly at 2 hours. As much as I could go for another hour easy. How do you balance the drive to achieve more and the need to rest and recharge?
I don't. I'm not very good at that at all. I do find little ways to do it each day. So one of the big things that people like working in corporate, I watched a lot of executives. We rolled out a program that was focused heavily on work-life balance. And so I watched a lot of executives stress about work-life balance, which did nothing except stress them more, because if they just replied to that email, then it would have balanced, right? And so there's an element to work-life balance where I think sometimes you just need to get things done. And I'm one of those people that my balance is getting it done. Once it's done, I will relax. I won't, but I can, right? And so one of the things that I've done is just implemented little ways to clear my head. Going back to your mental masturbation, everybody does that. No one, when I talk to people, I'm like, when was the last time, you just sat there for an hour and thought about things? People are like, why did I do that? Like, I'm going to go on my phone. I'm like, exactly. So you don't have time to think about the things that I actively spend time each day trying to think about, or just clear space. So skateboarding is a big one. I've just started skateboarding again. Walking is massive. Nick, shout out to Nick. Nick's lost like 20 kilos in the last 12 months. Dude is looking 15. It's crazy. Like, he looks so good. Really proud of him. So he got me onto walking, and so we just walk to clear our mind. No music, no nothing, just walking, right? Then you can think. And then same as skateboarding. When I'm skateboarding, like I went to the skate park this morning, just pumped around a little bit. I was only there for maybe 45 minutes, but that is a complete empty brain, and all I can think about is the wheels and the concrete and the board in front of me. And that is how I balance everything.
It's something that most of us aren't capable of doing anymore. Like you said, it's just, how can I fill this little bit of emptiness? Oh, no, let me scroll. Let me just avoid this thinking thing that's coming up. And I know the greatest minds in the world take time to be with themselves. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just repeating scripts that have already been said. We only find the genius within if we're actually within. Because if you're constantly outside externally scrolling and doing shit and busy, which most people avoid everything within them, but within you is everything you've ever fucking wanted.
Exactly.
Like, you're trying to look out there for the cave that's got the gold.
It's gonna be hyped, bro.
You're already in the cave, like the gold's right there. Just fucking turn around, shine your light, like, what the hell,
shit.
Right? So it's like, bro. Again, I feel like we just need to have another conversation.
Gas,
but dude, this question, to finish everything. If this was your last podcast appearance ever, what's the one thing you'd want people to take away from your conversation here today?
Anything is possible, I think, is probably the biggest takeaway here. There's no preconceived notion. There's no thought that anyone else can have of you that even matters to you. It's none of your business. Make sure that you just lock in within. Focus on what you want and what you want to achieve, and the whole universe will conspire to make that happen.
Dude, there's so many gems in this one today. I just want to say again, thank you as a brother and just like someone that I see doing cool shit in this space. It's really inspiring. So please do not stop anytime soon.
Thank you. Likewise.
And for anyone listening, please go share this, send it to your friends. Tag myself and Ados if you got something from this, because like, I'm one technician, but I want to create a heap of technicians that help rewire the world together. Like Aiden said, I don't like doing shit by myself. Like, I think community thing is the only way to do things. I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm here to just be myself. And if we can help all of you guys do the same, then let's help do that for other people, because If we sit here as Aussies, New Zealanders, and whoever else does fucking tall poppy syndrome in the world, we got to stop, man. It doesn't have to exist. Again, traditions exist and some of them are beautiful, but most of them, let's start to question it a little bit and be like, how can I change my heritage? How can I change my genetic code a little bit and choose the destiny for the others coming after me?
It's not even legal to grow poppies in Australia, so I don't know why we're growing tall poppies.
Oh, oh, done. Laters.
Laters.